Welcome back to Mortgage Giants. I'm tall, he's taller. Let's talk mortgages.
Let's do it. Mortgages, and just what's going on, I think, in Alberta.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Will rates come down?
Yeah.
Housing shortage, population,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. What should we start with today? There's a couple topics we're going to talk about. Parental co-signing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, we can start with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've probably felt it where there's a lot of people feeling the need to get into a home because they didn't last year. So many people put it off.
Yeah.
And because rates are still high, because they might be still pushed out of the detached family home, co-signing is probably going to go up. So you're going to be having parents and maybe grandparents, but people getting into it who haven't had a mortgage for a long time, probably decades.
Yeah.
And that process is going to, or the process now is going to look so much different that it could cause quite a bit of stress or raise some flags to them like, whoa, like this isn't how it happened last time.
Yeah. Man, honestly, like, it's like an ongoing meme, or you see it 1,000 times in like real estate, more effective, like for realtors. It's like, oh, as soon as dad comes to the home inspection, like just rip up that commission check.
Yeah.
You know, like as soon as Uncle Bob gets involved, just fuck, it's over.
Yeah.
You know, like
exactly.
And that's true when it comes to mortgages.
Yeah.
You know, the parents want to get involved, but they just feel like they can stroll in and flex their, debt-free house and, and just assume that they're going to get a mortgage for their kids. And it really is harder than that now.
Oh, yeah.
They are buying the house with the child. That needs to be discussed up front. You are supporting through income. Pension income's great.
Yeah.
CVP, OAS, all that is
we can use all of it, yeah.
But yeah, you are on the mortgage. You will be on the land title. Yeah. You are a purchaser of that home.
Yeah.
So, therefore, banks want to do their due diligence on you, and we're going to need some documentation.
Yeah.
So that does cause a lot of concern, and a lot of people then get upset. They feel like this is a personal attack.
Yeah.
And then they take their kids off to the bank they've been dealing with for 30 years, and they will go through the same experience there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they will go through the same experience there and likely get a higher rate.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, they're so frustrated because they've done this process twice.
Yeah.
You never hear from them again, and they just, it's unfortunate, but.
Like, I think that they're almost assuming that they can get into the guarantor role versus it needing to be co-signer. Because the amount of lenders that we have that offer a guarantor option are very, very small, where you're not on title, but they still look at a little bit of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you're on mortgage, you're on title.
Yeah.
If your kids fall off and don't do this, it will affect you.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they're after, is just that extra assurance that if something were to happen, if the kid's income is unstable or new or a new career that they might not like, they just need to know that mom and dad are there to back them up by being a registered, owner of the house.
And it doesn't mean forever either.
No.
If things get better and there's a plan like salary increases and mortgage gets low enough, we can take them off at the next renewal.
Yeah, and right now with the way rates are, we're seeing a lot of people even opting for 3-year fixed rates versus 5. Yep. So then, and if that's the plan to remove a parent, that might be another reason to go with a shorter term.
Yeah.
Just so that we can speed up the timeline of removing mom and dad from a mortgage and title.
Yeah.
The renewal is always the best time to plan for. Removing a parent mid-term just adds extra costs that you can ideally avoid.
Yeah.
So if you're going to co-sign, plan to be on it for the term of that mortgage, and then make sure your kids are, following the plan laid out by their mortgage broker, so that they can be removed at renewal. Yeah,
and be prepared that we need every document, just like what we're requesting from the kids.
Yeah,
you can't just be there in theory. Like, I'll help if it's there.
Yeah. I wish it was that easy. I do. We don't like putting people through extra work. Like, we don't enjoy it. There's no personal fulfillment from that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, we're just playing by the rules.
it's a fight,
Yeah.
all the time, and we want to make it as easy on people as possible. So if you're a kid thinking about adding a parent, it's best to have that conversation with them up front, saying, hey, mom and dad, okay, if you want to help, we are going to require the documents from you. Prepare them. Let it come from you. It helps the process a little bit.
Yeah. And also be open to the idea that you don't know everything. Like, quite often the dad will be like, you got to take the 5-year fixed. That's the best. But then you can't just say that. There's too many other factors. We've got to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Maybe, like you said, the shorter term makes sense. Maybe the variable makes sense.
Yeah.
So be open to all options.
Yeah. Yep, totally. So it's a great option, and if you have to ask yourself too, like, if you need a parent to co-sign, is it because this house is truly out of your price range?
Yeah.
And don't just get into a negative situation that's going to affect the relationship between you and your parents, and
Right.
So yeah.
Or is it, something temporary? Maybe you're in school, and then once you're in school or done school, then job is good.
Yeah.
You can qualify on your own, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Full story.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to maybe talk about, and it's related to family and mortgages and housing, is right now there was a study that came out, and it showed that the birth rate right now per household in Canada is hitting all-time lows.
Right.
So after the baby boom, like the boomers, there was the baby bust in the 70s. And, population and the birth rate was falling off. We're experiencing that right now.
Right.
Where we're at like a 1.3 per household.
Yeah.
And in order to replace just the aging population, we need to be at 2.1.
Oh, wow.
So we're at a big gap, per household. And it's kind of a weird dynamic because people aren't going to have kids if they don't have a home to raise them in. If you're renting a condo or you're in a parent's basement or whatever, like, you're just not likely to have kids, especially at an earlier age. People are having kids later. We all know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all funnels back to housing.
Yeah.
It's a direct, correlation to when people feel priced out of a market and they can't buy a home, birth rate drops.
Yeah.
The interesting thing that has me thinking about this whole thing is that now house prices have soared, and a large part due to the boomer generation.
Yeah.
Housing has got inflated, like, it is out of control. Well, if there's not a population to replace and purchase those houses, we are going to see a decline.
Yeah.
And people who have been relying on the equity that they've been building as a part of their retirement plan are going to maybe not get that full amount if there isn't a buyer or a family in line to take over that property from them.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing how interconnected we are, from generation to generation, and the importance of population.
Yeah.
Canada has a lot of open space, and we obviously have had a very aggressive immigration policy because they do understand the power of population. Well, if our current residents are having record low birth rate and they see these gaps widening, they will continue to keep the borders open.
Right.
They will continue to need to bring in people with money and a desire to work to support the economy. So it's just this crazy global interconnectivity that I actually really enjoy. I sit and I think about it quite often, but good and bad things come from over immigration when it's not well thought out and planned for.
Yeah.
We're still experiencing a housing crisis as far as number of doors. People have immigrated with a promise of access to job, access to affordable housing, that they can own something. People are coming from countries and parts of the world where they have never trusted the banking system to actually hold and secure their funds.
Right.
To come to Canada and have that thought of, we're going to invest and own something someday, just to come here and realize that was maybe
Pipe dream.
a pipe dream.
Yeah.
That's really crappy. And then what do people do is you see people getting desperate. Unfortunate stories in the news right now. builders are being targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Asian, East Indian families, builders, they're being targeted and having their job sites held ransom.
Oh my goodness.
Did you hear about this one?
No, I didn't.
2 houses burnt down in Beaumont last week, targeted by arson, because they went to a family back home to say, like, look, pay us X dollars or we're going to be burning your houses down.
Oh,
Like straight up gangster stuff. Well, where does all that come from? It comes from, obviously there's bad people across the world in any race, demographic, age group.
Yeah.
Like it is out there and will always be there. But when people come and get desperate and they need to support their families, and you just open up a can of worms.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened by, over-promising and under-delivering.
Yeah.
Well,
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's ongoing.
Yeah.
Businesses and houses are being targeted right now.
Wow.
In the Asian communities. So it's really scary and
Yeah.
really unfortunate. And I sympathize with maybe a lot of people that are turning to desperate measures to support.
Yeah, for sure. And that, like, when money is also tight, like, even if somebody can qualify for the mortgage, but it's taking up everything, there will be a calculated decision, like, we can't afford a kid
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Or we can only afford one, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, like, again, still housing. Like, you can afford the mortgage for the house, but you can't afford the kids in it, or else you'll be super house poor, or,
Yeah, the stress that leads to then divorce, and then you have broken families, and you have 2 people trying to find smaller, more affordable houses that don't exist.
Yeah.
It's wild. And then there's also, incredible stats on if you come from a family that was homeowners, your odds of owning a house are like just staggering.
Right.
The increase of likelihood that you then are going to own a home is just like exponential. Somebody that has never owned a house or been a part of a household that were owners and were always lifelong renters, the odds of them actually getting into an ownership situation also is way lower.
Right.
So you've created this cycle, and it's hard to break.
For
Hard
sure.
to break those generational cycles.
Yeah.
So, my hope, that's a long ramble and rant, but my hope is that municipalities, provincially, federally, remove red tape, allow developers to, unshelve those projects
Yeah.
and get to work on the development of all varying classes of asset and get affordable housing going and, allow home ownership and that kind of Canadian dream. And then from that generates, so many positives.
Yeah. It's just like, how do they implement it fast enough? Because they're not going to be able to.
Nothing's
really.
fast, right? It seems.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. But right now, the average cost that goes towards housing, new construction, 33% of every dollar goes towards taxes, permitting, licensing, soft costs that always get passed down to the buyer, right?
Right.
So, if anything, federally, provincially, municipalities, can cut the red tape and fees. I heard a hilarious thing the other day. Like, if you're building a multifamily place, I think this is in Ontario, and it's multifamily meaning more than 5 units, you have to pay a park levy. So a certain percentage of that application fee has to go towards the development or beautification of a park.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in a concrete jungle and there's no room to add a park in your neighborhood, you're not benefiting from that.
Yeah.
But the municipality found a way to add a levy to add parks to the city somewhere else. And it's just, that is an example of how fees and levies just get out of control.
Yeah.
And permitting takes forever, and people are just like, I can't make $1 off this.
Yeah.
And if I can't make $1, why would I invest my nest egg, my millions, in a gamble? Construction is a gamble enough. So
without all the extra fees and hidden stuff that comes along with it.
Yeah. So there's hope. I'm an optimistic person by nature, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done, I think, to stabilize and give the millennials and the next generation a real shot at just turning their attitude away from we're doomed, the boomers screwed us.
Yeah.
But let's get rid of that. Turn to a generation of optimism. I think there's a lot of positives that come from that. But
I've seen a recent trend online of younger millennials and Gen Z talking about why bother saving, because I'm never going to own. Like, I might as well just enjoy life
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with that mentality. Like, hopefully you're still trying to get something long term, even if it takes 10 years longer.
Yeah.
That's my mentality. But to think like, oh shit, it's done for, just waste it now. Like, that's not going to get you anywhere.
No, and there will be ebbs and flows. Every market has a cycle. If interest rates are high and housing's high, like there's always dips, and that goes back to another topic is that when rates do come down, and if people do go on that spending spree, we will be shooting ourselves in the foot, and inflation will rear its head.
Yeah,
And we will be doing it to ourselves in a way and keeping rates higher than we want to see them.
yeah,
So, I would love to say, hey, when groceries settle, when gas prices and utilities settle, if that day comes, start rebuilding. And a nimble person, meaning a person that has cash reserves, opportunity presents, and it's, good recipe for success.
Yeah.
Timing, opportunity, and access.
yeah,
You can all of a sudden, be in a great position and ahead of, maybe your cohort that was on a spend now YOLO,
right,
trajectory.
Yeah,
So I do, that would be my wish. I hope we can all start to be prepared and rebuild savings, rebuild stability,
yeah,
and be ready for what the future brings us.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You got to do something different to make a change.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll leave it there.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, thanks for tuning in, listening, watching, wherever you are. And check us out next time.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thanks.